Welcome back to the channel. This week we've got the final rundown of the 2020 BMW S1000XR. The S1000XR is touted as the epitome of perfect high-speed touring performance. Take the S1000RR and the K1600 GT, lock them in a cupboard with copious amounts of booze and illegal substances, and the result is a combination of track-like performance and mile-munching comfort with athleticism that can rip your face off. Ladies and gents, I give you the 2020 S1000XR.
Down in the
Well folks, here we are with somewhere new. We are in Essex. Where are we, Matt?
Burnham-on-Sea.
Burnham-on-Sea?
Is Burnham-on-Sea? Yeah, I think so.
Burnham-on-Sea, we think. We've just been to this cafe. It's lovely, the Cabin Dairy. Very nice, recommend it. Lovely bacon roll. So, what do I think of the 2020 BMW S1000XR? If you've not watched the first ride vid yet, best check that one out first.
Burnham-on-Crouch.
Burnham-on-Crouch. Burnham-on-Crouch we're in. So this vid is, I've been riding the bike for a week, probably done a couple 100 miles on her now, I think. I'm on some new roads around here in Essex, because I've not really ridden up here before, and I'm going to tell you what I think. So let's go. Oh look, I forgot to start the blooming Kalimoto app, didn't I? Oh. I've got these little pads off Amazon that you put on the fingertips of your gloves, and it turns normal gloves into like smart gloves that you can work your phone, allegedly, but I keep forgetting to put them on. But anyway, let's get onto the good roads and we'll have a chat. Nationals! That's definitely the thing with this bike, folks. Typical inline 4. It's pretty gutless in the low revs. You're talking at least 4,000 revs before anything really happens. The fun is 7,000 and upwards, and then it's sort of, well, I thought it took off. It feels like it takes off. Makes a lot of noise, and it is going quick. But young Matthew in front is on the KTM Super Adventure, and I tell you what, that will match this. Believe it or not, that's matching it. Bit for bit, certainly up into some fairly exciting speeds. This will overtake, but not by much. Obviously that was on a closed track, closed road, obviously. But yeah, this it's quite an engaging bike. Once you get the revs up and the engine comes alive, it's nice. It's a nice place to be. Not boring by any shape or form. I just wish the engine had more grunt low down. See, by the time this is getting to the power band, I'm in second gear, and by the time it's getting to the sort of power band where anything's happening, you see Matt's gone, and I've then got to put the brakes on. Right, let's get round here. I'm coming. Oh, petrol in the road. Beautiful. There we go. Now you feel that rush of power kicking in. What gear are you in just now, Matt? You are in second. I'm basically living in second and third. Oh, into the 30. There we go. The brakes on this, folk, the brakes on this really good. They're not Brembos. It's BMW have moved to like their own make now. I can't remember what it's called, but same ones you get on the GS, front and back. Great. Absolutely no complaints with these brakes. Lots of feel. They're not snatchy. All the electronics in this, traction control, ABS, everything, it's just the same sort of system that you've got in the GS's and S1000RRs. It's not the same. Is this a 5 or 6 axis? I think this is actually 6 axis ABS traction control. The old model was 5, I think. So you now get the Sport Dash. So we go here into Sport. There you go. You've got the Sport Dash there. Lean angle meter. It's got your traction control meter on the left, your brake meter on the right. Just check behind me. If you watch the brake meter there, watch. So it comes up, it shows you what your deceleration is. And then on the traction control, if we're going down some of the backcountry lanes possibly that we were doing earlier today, it's really cruddy at the moment, loads of leaves and everything lying everywhere. Well, you'd probably see that traction control meter lighten up, just to show you how much that's working. Possibly. It's more for the track really. Quick shifter's really nice, very nice and smooth. Feels like the S1000XR one. Beautiful, like butter. What do we say? Nationals! Blipper's quite clunky actually there. Not noticed that before, but it's actually quite clunky. Quick shifter's lovely and smooth, but the blipper's considerably clunky. I do love the scream of an inline-4 engine at high revs. It sounds good, that. Speaking of which, the stock exhaust is great as well. Looks really good. A bit like the S1000RR. In fact, I think it is the same as the stock 1000RR one. Not bad at all. Okay, out onto some more nationals, backcountry twisty roads. Drying up quite a bit, but there's still some pretty horrid minging wet sludgy patches, so this will not be particularly rapid. Yeah, what can I say about this bike, folks? Well, it's not bland low down. It's one of these bikes where I'm struggling to actually, for me personally, I'm struggling to see where this bike sits, because for road riding at road legal speeds, okay, I'm just going to be realistic and I'm going to toe the party line. For you, like your road legal speed riding, all the virtues of this bike with regards to the engine, you're not going to use any of it. You know, it's pretty slow off the mark really, compared to the likes of the Super Adventure in front, the GS Adventure, any of the big adventure bikes, any triple, any V-twin, any V4, any engine with character will pee all over this off the line. You've got to get the revs up. To be perfectly honest with you, the fun on this starts at sort of 7,000-8,000 revs, and by that point you're doing 70 mile an hour. And the thing is that nationals, it will. So I was just hitting 7,000, and then I have to ease off because we're coming up to a junction, and that's just what, certainly down here in the UK, that's what the roads are like around here. Unless if you're doing dual carriageways and motorways, then okay, you'll be able to pin it. There, look, it's just hitting the power band, and I'm doing 68, so I've got to slow down. Speed limit here is 60 mile an hour. Okay, yes, you could go quicker, absolutely, 100%, but towing the party line, where do you use this engine? You know, for the roads, for the British roads. So for me, it's just like, you're better off with the likes of, you know, the speed triple, the street triple, any of the adventure bikes, you know, your MT10s, things like that. I'm struggling to see where this bike sits. It's almost like, in my head anyway, this bike is for sports bike riders who perhaps want a little bit more comfort, or they feel like they need to take that next step but aren't ready to, in their eyes, admit defeat or have the revelation of throwing their leg over an adventure bike. They still want the inline-4 performance and noise and scream, but just more comfort. I like it, it's good, it is a good bike, and it's definitely head and shoulders above the previous one for me. The previous one just did nothing for me. This one, I enjoy riding it. It's an engaging ride. I feel like I'm getting something back from the bike. I actually find it fun to ride, and you know, when the cameras are off and you can enjoy this engine, geez, it's a lot of fun. But I'll tell you, we've been going head to head on the closed track, that testing track that we all use, and there's not much in it between this and that Super Adventure. Genuinely, there's not. You've got to be getting up to, you know, properly north of going to jail speeds, and then this thing will take over. But there ain't much in it. We're off to the Essex Country Club. Book your shooter in at the door. Nationals! God, this Essex Country Club is popular, isn't it? It's a dogging club. I wish I'd synced up the audio for your we're chatting on the old Cardo units here, folks, so cool. Gotcha, through. Now, something I get asked all the time, what's the negatives? There's very few bad bikes out there, folks, there really is. So, but I will purposely try, I will purposely try and think of some negatives for this. For me, the engine response is definitely a minus point for me. I just don't feel like it's particularly, maybe I'm making a bigger deal about it than it is, but it just doesn't feel like it's particularly user friendly for the road, because for me the fun is all at the top of the rev range, and I'm already going faster than the speed limit when that really kicks in. So what's the point in it? I know what the point is, but you know, other negatives. Now, vibration in the handlebars. That was a big issue on the previous bikes, the previous models, incarnations, and I did not notice it on this. For the last week I've been riding this, never noticed it at all. And last night somebody was chatting away on, I think on my Facebook, about it, and they said, oh, I've ridden the new one and it's still got the vibration issue, and I thought, oh, I've just not noticed it. Today, for the first time ever, I've now noticed it. I don't know if that's just because it's now in my head, but I genuinely did not notice it before. There is a very slight vibration through the handlebars, certainly when I was sat on the motorway. So what is the S1000XR like on the motorway? Does the bike still have the same wind buffeting across the helmet? Well, it's a flexible screen. You can raise and lower it with one hand under there, like that. In the low position, there's two positions, low and high. In the low position, yes, I'm feeling quite a lot of wind buffeting across the top of the helmet. Nice for some. In the high position, no, a little bit across the very top. I'm 6'3", fairly average length in the body, I would say. If you are a long torso, then yeah, you might get a fair bit of buffeting across the top. But for me, nothing at all. Across my shoulders, feels fine. Got no comfort issues at all. Talking of comfort, on the motorways, what's it like for the prolonged stretches with the peg height and the very sculpted seat? Again, I'm not exactly Steve Cram in physique. My ass fits into this seat, no problems at all. I have no comfort issues, none whatsoever. When I looked at the seat initially, I thought, that's going to hurt on long journeys. It's not. For me anyway, no problem at all. Seat height, yes, it's a little bit higher than the GS. It's not as high as the S1000RR. For me, no issues, no problems at all. Ergonomics, again, nice wide handlebars, not as wide as the previous XR, but still nice and wide, feels very similar to the GS. Motorways, tick, no problems, not for me anyway. Let's get back to the decent roads. And after saying no problems at all, I switched the camera off and then started thinking, oh, I can feel vibration through the handlebars, but it's small, it's nothing to, it's certainly, it wouldn't put me off buying this bike if everything else was to my taste, so to speak. And allegedly, from what I've heard from other people, you just put some bar end weights onto it and it takes away the vibration. It's nothing massive. Generally, I would say that is pretty much they are the only two negatives that I can think of about this bike. Yeah, I'd say that's about it. Let's get back to riding. Suspension on this is really good. It's the BMW semi-active, so it just adjusts to whatever you're riding on. I've got it set in auto. I've got the engine mode in dynamic. Obviously road mode softens everything up, softens up the throttle response. It's got rain mode, which softens it up even more. I just keep them in dynamic because, you know, if it's wet and greasy like this, just don't twist the throttle as abruptly or brake as hard. Does have a lovely growl, this. It's got a little bit of the Jigsaw howl to it once you get in the higher revs. Pheasants, loads of pheasants. Ugh. When I first rode this, I genuinely loved it, and I do like this bike, but I can't wait to get back on my tractor for the low end fun. You know, Martin Front is on the Super Adventure, and he's just having way more fun on these little scratchy back roads than I am, because I'm having to work this thing hard in the revs to sort of match his speed. This is a nice road, this. Oh, thank you very much. Stansfield. Sorry, we're in Essex. Stansfield. Right, fuel time. So, how far have we gone on one tank of fuel? Okay, well, I zeroed this at the petrol station. It says we've travelled 139 miles. That's the easy way for me to figure it out. Maths isn't my strong point. So, 139 miles. I was down to a tank, 1 bar, with 20 mile range left. So that would suggest you get about 150, 160 miles spanking it to a tank, folks. And this should be a 20 litre tank. That is us full to the brim. And it is 17.35 litres, so we still had quite a bit left there, according to that, if that's a 20 litre tank. This is where this bike comes alive, folks. These sort of roads. Get the revs up, have that inline 4 screaming. Oh, it is ridiculously fast. The acceleration is, well, I'm saying that, but I've got a Super Adventure, KTM Super Adventure in front of me. You can't see that, obviously. And I'm following the Super Adventure, and it pulls away from me out of every bend. So I think it's more along the lines of this bike is screaming and making a lot of noise. It feels incredibly fast because of that screaming engine. I think in reality it's not any quicker than, you know, the bigger adventure bikes. Obviously, once you get into triple digits, this thing's going to keep stretching its legs, where the adventure bikes are going to tail off. So there we have it, folks, the S1000XR 2020 edition. In my opinion, leaps and bounds above the previous incarnation. I don't know why, it just feels more engaging. It's a lot of fun. But would I have one above the GS or any of the other big hitter adventure bikes? No, I genuinely wouldn't. As good a bike that is, I would still much rather have the adventure bike, to be perfectly honest with you, because the low down grunt is just a lot more fun certainly on British roads. That said, if you like your inline 4s, if you're a sports bike fan, you fancy doing some touring or anything else and a little bit more comfort, definitely try out the new BMW S1000XR. It is a very sculpted seat, but if my fat ass at 20 stone fits in it, then most of you out there, I'd imagine, will have no problem in it. I don't experience any comfort issues at all, so try it out for yourself and see what you think. Alright folks, hope you've enjoyed this one. All you subscribers out there, thank you so much for your continued support. If you have not yet smashed that subscribe button, please do, and don't forget to ding dong the bell. For all you Patreon members, all those of you out in the clan, thank you so much for your continued support. I really could not be doing this without you. Folks, if you've not listened to the podcast yet, check it out on any of the main podcasting platforms. Just search for either TeapotOne or Brewtime, links down below. So all that's left to say, folks, is the usual. Keep on doing your thing. Get on out there, look after those that you love, but most importantly, live your life. Hooah! Welcome back to the channel, folks. This week, nah,